In the immediate aftermath of the notorious carnival massacre in the town of Last Chance, Colorado, that left more than 157 carnival workers dead, the serial killer Angus Duquette, also known as a clown with no paint on his face, had finally begun to create a nationwide panic. One of the biggest manhunts in history was carried out in what many were now calling the worst crime of the century. Investigators worked tirelessly, turning up hundreds of leads. All leads, however, ultimately became dead ends. Newspapers printed non-stop front-page coverage, but none of it unearthed any clue or hint as to the killer's current whereabouts. As the days dragged on with Angus still not found, the country only grew more terrified, and the specter of his evil loomed large. Rumors spread that he was traveling with the pride of lions, a detail that unsettled scores of people. Every town within a 1,000-mile vicinity began to fear that they could be the next unlucky place where Angus would pay a deadly visit. Many wealthy residents went so far as to hire out members from the local police forces to safeguard their homes at night. The result of this was as expected. Pressure mounted on state legislators to do something. A curfew was set in place, police patrolled neighborhoods more frequently, and local air raid sirens that were designated for nuclear disaster were repurposed for daily Angus alerts. These were a series of announcements meant to warn citizens of possible Angus sightings or attacks. Local organized crime outfits even called temporary truces with the police in an effort to work together until the killer was apprehended. Schools put into place safety measures of their own, and many students were encouraged to no longer walk home alone, but to travel in groups. Any personage resembling a clown, including those employing behaviors of a jokester, was not to be trusted. Children were instructed to report these suspects immediately to their elders. Teenagers going on dates were advised not to frequent any place that might have some element of silliness or carnivalesque attraction. Leaders did their best to put the public's mind at ease, but it was too late. A full-blown hysteria had indeed consumed the hearts and minds of these communities. There was but one other prime suspect early on, Herman Witherby, the sole survivor of the Carnival Massacre. Having been born with an irregular skin condition, Herman traveled as one of the sideshow acts. On the night of the massacre, Herman was passed out in an empty rattlesnake basket, inebriated on poorly brewed moonshine. Ironically, that terrible moonshine spared him a brutal death. After awaking to discover that everyone he knew had been savagely murdered, Herman fled the scene in fear. He was apprehended hours later after attempting to appeal to a local woman of skittish demeanor for help. The police interrogated him for a grueling period of time before ultimately releasing him with minor vagrancy charges. Despite being cleared of any suspicion, Herman's appearance and sordid lifestyle was reviled by much of the puritanical masses. He became a scapegoat. Years later, Hollywood cinematic depictions of Angus Duquette would have been imbued with qualities more akin to Herman than the real Angus, further exacerbating this false and misleading lie. By the time history would look differently upon Herman, he would be long dead, buried in an unmarked grave in a potter's field. But perhaps the most disturbing outcome of the Carnival Massacre was the wave of copycat killings it precipitated. In the days that followed, homicides seemed to be happening everywhere. Many of these killings were inspired by Angus's roots and now mythic backstory as the sad clown that could not even become a proper clown. Copycats took his stripped-down iconography and embellished it in highly garish ways. Gerald the Top Hat and Samuel the Smiler were perhaps the best known of this pack. Each destined to kill but a handful of people before their sloppiness would get the best of them. But some experts theorize that these murders could also be claimed as potential Angus victims, as they would fall along the most likely route he was traveling. The hard truth is that we will never know. Through all this time of pain and darkness, one thing was clear: Angus had disappeared. He had left no trace and no trail as he quietly made his way to Silent Creek on foot. Had Angus gone into hiding for the rest of his life, he would have left a permanent scar on the collective unconscious. But he had an unknowable purpose awaiting him in the Mojave Desert, his magnum opus.